And in the words of Beetlejuice, it's showtime. Yes, everyone, welcome to the Final Cuts prediction show for the Oscars. This went away for a while and it's come back, and it's been a lot of fun to do, and where we predict, a number of who we think is going to win in various categories. Now, the hook of this is that however many I get wrong is how many uh, bad movies. That's the way it started out, anyway. How many bad movies I would watch as a consequence. Well, it's evolved over the years, and last year we tried something new. How many romantic comedies slash bad Hallmark films slash bad films will I have to watch? And actually, those reviews, it's taken me a year, but my consequence films from last year, those reviews will be up this week, leading up to the Oscars. And those consequence films last year's was A California Christmas, City Lights, and a Royal Treatment. So, yeah, look for those reviews to drop this week. And now here we are. It is a new Oscar season. To say that this year's Oscars is going to be an interestingly mild one because of the films last year. There were a lot of people going a lot of different directions, and the awards season so far up to this big night um are proof of that. A wide variety. There's some categories where people have been winning consistently, but there's a number of categories, especially the main one, to where it's kind of been all over the board. So we are going to try to exercise how much we follow the wide release films and what we have seen, which I've seen most of the Oscar nominated films. Unfortunately, not all of them, because some of them didn't show in our area, and they're not on streaming yet either, which is surprisingly. But yes, we are making our predictions, and then we will make our predictions. The Oscar night will happen. I will tally up which ones I got wrong, and then next week on Wednesday night, I will have another live show where we will find out how many I got right and what my consequence films will be for the ones I picked wrong. So, yeah, should be a very, very interesting Oscars, though I'm not sure how many people actually care about this year's Oscars. But let's dive into this, shall we? With our 97th Oscars live prediction show. No, this isn't my 97th Oscar prediction show. I'm not that old. So let's go to the first category I picked here, which is Best Actor. Yes, Adrian Brody. I think I know it's been debated between Timothy Chalamet and Adrian Brody from The Brutalist, and Chalamet from A Complete Unknown, but I honestly think that Adrian's going to eke it out for the big golden statue. I watched The Brutalist. In all honesty, I am not like a number of the films, and you'll hear this over the course of this show. I am not seeing the hype of some of these films that made Best Picture list. Yeah, I'm not seeing. I watched the films, but I don't know. They just didn't strike me like a number of folks out there, a lot of my critic and peers and such. So, yeah, I'm looking at Adrian Brody winning this category. Ralph Fiennes or even Coleman Domingo would be a great surprise, but while they've been on the ballot and the choices, they haven't really won. Hold on, I got to crack one for this. So, yeah, we're drinking Wisconsin tonight as well. So let's Adrian Brody, Best Actor for The Brutalist is what I'm picking. Then Best Supporting Actor. This one's a pretty easy one. Kieran Culkin. He's been dominating the award season in this category. Really, I enjoyed A Real Pain quite a bit. And I think, yeah, out of everybody listed here, this is definitely going to be one that while there's people in this category that I all really liked their performances, Culkin puts in a next level performance for him if nothing else. But that it's an interesting film, A Real Pain. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. It's a great dynamic with Eisenberg and Culkin. So, but Culkin really steals that show, and that is his movie. He shines in it for sure. So, yeah, I'm going with Culkin. I think that's a pretty safe bet. On to Best Actress. Now, this is another contested category that it could be pretty much anyone's. Fernanda Torres, I'm Still Here. Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to see I'm Still Here. I've heard really good things. I really wanted to see it, but it didn't show anywhere around here, and it hasn't been on streaming that I could find. And it'd be interesting to see if she won, but they haven't seemed to have a large campaign, which a lot of this falls down to sometimes is the campaign that the studios put out for. And I'm Still Here hasn't really had a huge campaign behind it, nor has it done well in the other awards seasons. So Mickey Madsen is the other probably closest, and it's funny because you also got Cynthia Erivo in here, who I loved in Wicked. I think she was my favorite part of Wicked, and so this is a tough category. This could be pretty much anyone's to win. I'm pulling for Demi Moore. While Mickey Madsen does put in that fantastic performance in Honora, and Honora has really gotten a lot of nominations, I think overall the Academy is going to give Demi hers finally, which would be nice to see. And yeah, if I'm wrong, if one of the other picks, they're not going to be bad picks really in this category, but we're pulling for Demi on this one. And then we're moving on to Best Supporting Actress, Zoe Saldana. Yeah, she was the best part for me for Amelia Perez in that film. She's won in every award season. She's won every time. I mean, this is really one of the best roles I've seen her in. She puts on her performance is better than pretty much anyone else in this film, in all honesty. And even with the musical numbers too, she really nails it. There's that one song, I forgot the name of it offhand, where she's singing it in the banquet hall. And that one just, wow, Zoe really sells it. She deserves it. And this is a pretty solid choice as well, as long with Culkin, as pretty for certain that the statue is going to go to them. Animated movie, I'm going with Flow. I'm picking Flow. Flow was my top film from last year, tied with The Wild Robot. If this loses to The Wild Robot, it may get the other category that it's nominated in, but I really feel this picked up the right momentum at the right time. And check out the full review episode I did with Jeff York of the establishingshot.org, where we talked about our love of Flow. While we looked at it from a very different aspect, we do recognize the spiritual aspect of it, but there's many different angles you could look at Flow with. Not only is it gorgeous artistically, it's very creative, very interesting approach, covers a lot of subjects without dialogue, just through animals who are not being anthropomorphic. And Flow is a tough choice, but I think it's going to eke out. I mean, we had a lot of decent animated films this year. I really enjoyed Inside Out 2, far better than I expected. The Wild Robot, when I saw the trailer, I was not impressed. And that ended up tying Flow for me for my top films of last year, Flow and The Wild Robot. So Flow's got a good chance of winning the animated. Wallace and Gromit may be the dark horse in this one. But I think Flow just has so much artistically going on that I think the Academy and those who are in this category would go with the flow, so to speak. Sorry for the bad pun there. Original screenplay, Jesse Eisenberg, A Real Pain. He has been dominating the award season in this category as well for original screenplay, and I think that's going to happen here. It's a touching, moving story. It's, ground level, small, contained, just the story of two individuals on a very emotional road trip. And the characters are interesting, especially Culkin's character, and that screenplay, it hits home in a few places, and it's a solid script. And out of all the ones that are nominated, which I think for script, let me pull it up. What else is up for script? Sorry, I should have had this up sooner. For original screenplay, you got Anora, The Brutalist, September 5th, which is a really solid film as well, and The Substance, and A Real Pain. And I think A Real Pain has struck a chord all the way through. Really feel good about this pick. So, and then original writing adapted screenplay, Peter Strawn in Conclave. I loved Conclave. Conclave was a one of the a number of surprises from last year. I went in cold, not knowing really what Conclave was about, and it ended up being this murder mystery, this kind of crime thriller set within the Vatican while they're choosing a pope. It's an interesting concept with a really surprising twist as well. A very creative script, a very interesting approach to this type of film, and I'm really pulling for Conclave on this. And it has been doing well at the other awards, like some of these other picks. So Conclave is going to win this. Cinematography, Lal Crawley, The Brutalist. Yeah, I know. Dune 2. I know. Dune 2 had phenomenal cinematography, but one of the more interesting things I found for The Brutalist was the cinematography in the film. I really enjoyed the camera work. It was a really tough choice between this and Dune Part 2, but I think with the way the buildings are shot, the way the way they frame some of these scenes, that opening shot with Adrian Brody's character going through the crowd and such, and how some other things are shot. I think it's just visually very, very interesting. While Dune Part 2 has those epic wide shots, like cinematic, like made for IMAX type scenes. I think The Brutalist is going to eat this one out. So, and again, yeah, this is probably one of the ones I'll get wrong. Cinematography is hard to judge a bit, but yeah, that one is. Best director is gonna probably go to Sean Baker and Nora. Nora's gotten so much buzz. It had so much campaigning. It's won in some of the bigger award shows. I don't see it with Anora. Personally, I'm putting it out there. I was not too taken with Anora. I thought it was a fine film. I didn't think it was bad by any means. I do like the performance of Madison and some of the other actors. I just didn't care for the script so much. I didn't care for how some of it was shot. I just, it was, the subject matter was interesting and the approach was interesting, but yeah, for me personally, Anora did not hit quite right with me. And I'm not sure why, because I heard a lot of people really talking about it. But I still think with all the buzz and everybody else talking about it, best director, Sean Baker, and Anora is what that is going to be. And that's another tough category. That it's a tough pick for that category because you're looking at it, and for directing, you got The Brutalist with Brady Corbett, a complete unknown, James Mangold, Amelia Perez, Jacques Audiard, and The Substance, Coralie Farragut. I'd love to see her win. That'd be a big surprise, and talk about an upset for many people for The Substance winning. But yeah, for directing, I'm surprised that Conclave wasn't in here for directing, really, because I thought that film was really sharply directed for sure. But yeah, Sean Baker with Anora. Everybody's talking about Anora. It's still in the bigger circles, and I suspect this is going to eke out the Brutalist with Brady Corbett, excuse me, who a lot of people had talked about as well, possibly taking this category. And film editing, Nick Emerson, Conclave. Yeah, that film is edited so well. It's so well put together. That film moves. Oh, it does. I never felt a slow spot in Conclave. I thought of it just kept going forward. The plot kept moving. It kept things interesting. The way dialogue was edited and everything. There's really very few spots in that film that aren't moving the film forward, and it's a lot to that sharp editing that Nick Emerson did in Conclave. It really helped keep that story intriguing, and the fact that it had a smaller runtime. You know, I think there's something to be said about that. While the Brutalist, sure, the Brutalist is quite it got quite cinematic buzz as far as editing. It was 3 hours and what 20 minutes or 30 minutes or something like that. When it, in all honesty, when I watched it, didn't have to be. It could have been trimmed. There wasn't necessarily a need for that film to be that long. I understand the story they were telling, but man, whew, but the editing for Conclave, yeah. Production design, Wicked. I don't think Beetlejuice would be one as well for production design that I would love to see win because I thought it was great. Unfortunately, it wasn't nominated. Production design, Beetlejuice wasn't nominated, which kind of boggles my mind. Although, I mean, there were a lot of very interesting films that had a lot of great sets and costuming and everything overall. But it surprises me that Beetlejuice wasn't in the production design, especially considering the amount of practical effects and such that they put in that film. I mean, Beetlejuice didn't even get visual effects, which I thought were really well done in that. It is amazing how, for the technical aspects, that film got snubbed. Maybe because it was a sequel. I'm not sure, but given everything that was designed and built for Wicked, and the just everything, I think production design really is going to go to this. And I also, because while Nosferatu had a great production design, it was working with more realistic type settings and such. It was a period piece for sure, and Nosferatu's castle was awesome. But and then you have Dune Part Two, but a lot of that would go to the special effects, right? I mean, because there's a lot of green screen in that. Dune 2 is probably going to take visual effects. But Wicked for production design, yeah, everything about it, what they built for it, how much of those sets were just, made from scratch. It's really impressive the work that went into that, putting that musical on the big screen. So, and there we go. I showed my hand early. Visual effects, Dune Part 2. While you do have some solid choices in here with Alien Romulus, Better Man snuck in there just in time while it got released in more theaters in January. It did eke in a few screenings at the end of December, I think, to help qualify. Wicked, I think it's going to get production design, but not necessarily visual effects. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, yes, the apes look amazing. I mean, the film and everything look amazing, but Dune Part 2, that film is not what it is without those visual effects, out of all of them. I mean, yes, you could say that about the apes film as well, but I really think Dune Part 2 takes us. It's just so much wonderful, well done visual effects in that film that it's going to be a close neck and neck race between, I think, Dune Part 2 and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, more so than Romulus. But Dune Part 2 will eke that out. And then the final choice. Now, this final choice for Best Picture, I'm going to say, is not my Best Picture. Okay, I'm going with what I think the Academy is going to go for. And this is one of those categories that has been up and down all over. I mean, Conclave won at, I believe, the BAFTAs. The Brutalist won at, was it the Golden Globes? And yeah, I mean, and then you had a complete unknown in there as well, winning a big award for the award season. So this one is going to be a tough call, and we've got some great picks in here, though it's still interesting what didn't make the list for Best Picture. I mean, you've got Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, and The Substance, and Wicked. So Nickel Boys is glad to see it get some acknowledgement. It's a really well done film. Again, I'm Still Here. I think that's going to eke out. I didn't make the prediction, but I think I'm Still Here is going to eke out the international Best Picture, and Flo will take the animated film, though Flo is up for Best International as well. I think I'm Still Here is going to eke that out. But I wouldn't be sad if Flo won that one too. But yeah, but I don't think I'm Still Here is going to win both international and Best Picture. I honestly think that it's going to be Anora. So many sites, so many award season, so much buzz, everything about Anora. I think Anora is going to win, though I don't see it as being the best picture of last year. You know, uh, as much as I wasn't quite overwhelmed with The Brutalist, I think that one was a better film than Anora. And I would love if Conclave upset, because everybody pretty much is pushing Anora. I've seen online a lot of critics, everything. They're like, yeah, Anora is going to be best picture, Anora. And I would not be upset at all if I got this one wrong and it went to Conclave. Because Conclave for me, yeah, it's kind of one of those films that was a bit under the radar, I think, for some people. It kind of came, I don't know, or didn't have a huge promotion. And yet everyone that I know that's seen Conclave has really enjoyed that film. And so with that though, the hedging the bet, it's going to be Anora. But yeah, I'd like to see Conclave win this one. And it's nothing against The Brutalist. Look, The Brutalist, I get a lot of people's love for that film. Not exactly by Fieldhouse for that film, but as far as the movies that showed last year, I guess I'm not seeing too much of all that with it. But again, I could say that with Anora. And I have some of my peers. I was on Ian's Kicking the Seat podcast, and we talked about Anora. I was in the minority for the feelings on this picture, so it's really a mixed bag with some of these categories this year that usually are pretty defined. But if you caught when we did our reaction show to the nominations, looking at it, it's one of those where the Oscars this year is just in such a strange place. I honestly think Amelia Perez, outside of Zoe Saldana winning, which rightfully so she should, I think that's the only one that Amelia Perez wins. Truthfully, A Complete Unknown, I see getting shut out. Even in the best song category, I would say, and this is one of my official predictions, but I would say, from Amelia Perez, that one of those songs is probably going to make it. But I see Complete Unknown shut out. I see Amelia Perez winning only one category this year, and probably the most deserved one. Some of the other films just didn't have their campaign behind them, the studios behind them, which make a difference, really. last year, the year, it's an interesting contrast to a year before because like there was Oppenheimer and pretty much, yeah, Oppenheimer. Boom, 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 and I only got two wrong last year. Uh, and so most of those were pretty, you could pick those right away. This year, it's just hard, and I don't know how many of these films that are nominated people are going to be interested in tuning in to seeing the Oscars win. It tends to be a bloated show, regardless of how much they try to trim. I still think they should just cut out the host. The one year they did no host, which during COVID, that show flowed really, really quick. They're going to cut out the performances for best songs this year, which will reduce it by probably 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes, because each of those is usually a 4-minute production. So yeah, it's hard to say, but those are my predictions, folks. Now if you want to help with the consequences, please, you can leave a comment in this video up through the showing of the Oscars. You can recommend a really bad rom-com, a really bad Hallmark film you've watched, or what you consider just a film that is painful to watch for you, and suggest that. And I will put that as part of the wheel of random, which will be my consequence wheel for when we tune in next week. I hope you tune in to see how many of these I guessed right and how many of these I guessed wrong. And I have a feeling the wrong list may be a little bit long this year, but we will see. Who knows? There's always surprises, one or two at the Oscars, and this year we may get that. So thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, bells and whistles, and all that here. I've got some great reviews coming, not only of the consequence films of last year that I'm finally reviewing, but I've got a couple of very interesting films coming up. We just had the podcast where we did She Devils on Wheels, which is exciting. You can find on this channel or on our Spoiler Room podcast. And yeah, I hope you enjoy cinemas. Tune in to the Oscars and tune in to us next week. Look for the time. It'll probably be Wednesday again next week, where we do our live show and we see how many of the painful movies I will have to watch. So thank you so much for everyone in your support. And until next time, keep that ticket stub. And scene.